This is a Dialogue House recording of a talk given by Dr. Ira Progoff, given at Unity by the Sea on the 9th of October, 1969.
Tonight, I would like to speak about the youth culture. And let me begin with the comment that any question in which we are considering what is right or wrong with any particular group in the population, that it cannot be a matter of judgment by one group of the other. It is very important that we put ourselves in a position where we feel ourselves on the inside of the people we are trying to understand. That is central, I think, in all psychological work, and it leads us actually to a kind of dialogue, really a unity, because it means that when we think about another person's situation, we are placing ourselves as though it were within them and are trying to feel what it is that is trying to happen within that other person. In that context, when we think in psychological terms, it becomes important to see that a human being is always in process of growth or transition, that is true not only for young people, but for young people of all ages, and that the important question is not only that the older people understand the young and feel sympathetically what is trying to emerge in them, but also it is important that the young understand the old, both with respect to what was trying to emerge in them in their earlier years and what is trying to come through and to take place now in their middle years and in their later years. In other words, we need a large perspective of growth and transition with which to approach and with which to appreciate the lives of one another. I say that as a kind of preamble to the perspective I want to present tonight. Let me also state, perhaps as a second preamble, two concepts, or perhaps better, two metaphors or images that I use in my depth psychology. Of these two metaphors, one is the metaphor of depth, the other is the metaphor of growth. If I speak of depth, that does not mean something literal. It has to do with a quality of human life. It's as though the depth aspect is that part that is more fundamental, the part that is deeper. In the psychology of the unconscious, the basic idea has been that depth has to do with what is deeper than consciousness. Essentially, it has meant the part that is repressed. That is, in Freud's view, that past experiences that have been painful, that have been pressed down in the unconscious. And it has to do with past experiences primarily. But I use another sense of depth. This is that what is in the depth of a person is not so much what was in his past experience and that he has repressed, but that what is in the depth of a person is more what is in that person that he has not yet lived. It's as though that's in the seed of the person. It's the part of him that's still the potential that is trying to emerge. That's what is in the depth. And if I remember it, when we were having a discussion about this at Lee's Summit last summer, in the workshop there, someone participating recalled that Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, made a statement, something to the effect that I'm God's green apple, is what he said. Now that greenness in the apple That would be the depth aspect. That would be the part of the person that is latent there, that is present there, and that still has to have its opportunity to emerge. The other concept, the other metaphor, is that of growth. And here, what I want to say about growth that I think is important for us to bear in mind for our subject tonight is that the growth process is not only a movement upward, but it is a process of germination and development and maturation. It includes the blossoming of a flower, and then the waning and the withering, and eventually the disintegration, and then the germination again, and the growing and the development and the maturation again and again. In other words, the process of growth must be understood as a total, as an ever-continuing process in the cosmos. And this would mean that it is perhaps more like what the ancient philosophies would have spoken of in the Tao, the sense of a continuing process moving in life that goes through all the cycles of life. And therefore, if we want to tune ourselves to the processes of growth in human life, we have to be able to encompass both sides of the cycles of human existence. Now, one other thing. If we would be thinking in terms of growth in human life, we notice that there is one important difference in the way the process of growth takes place in human beings than in all other species. In all the animal species, the process of growth continues naturally, and each species moves until it fulfills the possibilities of its nature. I mean, the squirrel grows according to its nature, and the tulip grows according to its nature. And that is, in a sense, natural and automatic. But in human life, growth is not automatic. There is at least one essential experience that has to happen before the process of growth can continue in such a way that the human being becomes capable of fulfilling his humanness, before he can become a person. That experience is a sense of himself. That experience is the point at which a human being is no longer just a continuity of natural processes that move along in an automatic way. But there comes a point that is essential in the development of the human being's particular human nature, at which the person gets this sense that his existence is somehow special and changes the nature of the whole life process. That events that come into him change when they are within him, and that when they go forth again, it's as though life now has his stamp upon it. It has a sense of his identity. Now, that doesn't just happen naturally. The process of physical growth in a child, moving to adolescence, etc., that happens naturally. But this experience of one's own identity, that one is, that experience is not automatic. That has to be brought about. Now, in all the history of culture, there are, in primitive tribes and in all traditional cultures, various rituals by which this experience is at least introduced into the growing person. These are the rituals of initiation that you have in primitive tribes. And sometimes those rituals are very demanding. They'll put a young man in a hut with a swarm of bees and leave him there for 24 hours till he feels as though he will die. And then when he doesn't die, if he doesn't die, then when he emerges, he has a sense of his own existence. He has been put through a trial so that when he emerges, what he has lived through is a cycle of death in which his old being was as though it ended, and was followed by a rebirth or a renewal. Now, this essential cycle, you see, which occurs in primitive culture, is somehow inherent and essential in the development of persons. And here we have a very special thing that has to do with the nature of life in our time, which is the fact that in traditional cultures, I mean in primitive cultures or any culture like the culture of the Middle Ages or of traditional Western civilization or traditional Hindu or Buddhist civilization, in all traditional cultures there are various patterns of ritual by which this initiation is socially carried through. And that means then that a young person, as he comes into adolescence, is given certain patterns and rituals by which he's taken over from being a child, and he's drawn over through the ritual into an experience by which he feels connected to the universe. Whatever the pattern of myths is in a tribe, how the heroes are, how they see reality, or whatever the view of the universe, of the nature of the gods, the divinities of a particular culture, the individual is drawn through the rituals so that in the death and the rebirth experience, he emerges with a sense his childhood self is dead, and he is now an adult member of the community. And he is then, in addition to this sense of connection and of his identity, he gets, usually in these rituals, an awareness and a role for his sexual life, that is for marriage and parenthood, and also usually he gets some work role. Maybe that he'll be a farmer or a craftsman or artisan if it was in the medieval guilds. That is, he's given a role in the community, a sexual role and an occupational role. And then his existence is not only generalized, but very specific. Now that's the case in all traditional cultures. But I say we have a very particular situation in modern times.